My name is Emily Wolf. I'm a researcher with Global Human Rights Defense, and we're here today with Marta Hurtado, a spokesperson for the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights at the United Nations. Just this past week at the Human Rights Council's 52nd session, High Commissioner Volker Turk delivered a global update on 40 countries and global human rights. And today we're here to ask Marta about the High Commissioner's top priorities for human rights globally.
Hello, everyone. There's no priorities per se. We have a global mandate, so we're not going to highlight one country situation on another. But he has said that he's very concerned about the interrelation between conflict, discrimination, that it seems to be growing in the world in general. And then what it's called the triple crisis, which is pollution, loss of biodiversity, and climate change. Because this current High Commissioner, Volker Turk, as the former High Commissioner, Michelle Bachelet, both have stressed the fact that climate change is the biggest threat to human rights.
In his global update, the High Commissioner mentioned 40 different countries, and of those 40, are there any that are of higher priority in terms of human rights?
He's really worried about protracted crises, conflict or crisis. For example, Syria, that we are now these days commemorating the 12th anniversary of the starting of the war. Yemen, that's been 4 years in conflict as well. Situations like DRC, the eastern provinces of DRC, where there are situations that don't improve and actually get worse. So for him, paying attention to this crisis is paramount.
In the coming years, what do you see as the top priorities for human rights moving forward?
Sadly, there's plenty of country situations that are going to attract our attention, but the current High Commissioner have flagged the fact that the digital world is emerging as a situation of concern. The artificial intelligence, the surveillance, there are new areas that are affecting human rights and that we and governments should pay attention in the following years.
And what about the developing situation in Iran? What is the office doing to address that?
We are really worried about what is happening in Iran. We are engaging with authorities, and our main call to them is adhere to the demands of the protesters. There's hundreds of thousands of people that have been protesting for a few months already, exposing their grievances, and the authorities should listen to them, especially those of women and girls that have the same rights of their male counterparts, and they should have their rights upheld. Another situation that worries us a lot in Iran is the death penalty. As far as we know, 4 people have been sentenced and killed after being sentenced to death penalty. There's 17 other people that have been sentenced to the death penalty, and there are more than 100 people that have been charged with the possibility of being sentenced to death penalty. So this is really worrying, and we are calling the authorities to stop behaving like that. As well, there's dozens of people that have been detained after being protesting peacefully in the streets, and we call to the authorities to release all those arbitrarily detained.
And can you talk about the cost of living crisis that's affecting millions globally?
Sadly, it's affecting almost every country in this planet, and this is really worrying because those most affected are those that don't have resources, and especially those from minorities, being racial minorities or ethnic minorities, or more generally those that don't have resources, the more poor. So we are calling the governments to bear this in mind and to act accordingly.
Given that we just surpassed the 1-year anniversary of the crisis in Ukraine escalating, what has the office been doing to address that crisis and the ongoing conflict?
We are present in Ukraine. We've been present for a number of years, and since the 24th of February of 2022, we've been monitoring and reporting on what is happening on the ground. Bearing in mind that the numbers we put publicly are a fraction of the reality, because we have a specific, very methodology that allows us only to count those casualties that we have really confirmed. So far, we have reported more than 20,000 people affected, of those more than 88,000 killed. And of course, Ukrainians are those suffering the most, but we don't have to forget that part of the fuel crisis, the food crisis around the world comes from this war. So once again, we call on warring parties to stop and to go to the negotiation table.
Thank you so much, Marta, for spending the time and doing this interview with us. It's very important for the world to understand what the High Commissioner and what his office is doing to advocate for human rights globally. Here at GHRTV, we're in Geneva for the next week, and you can follow along our interviews, our sessions, and our regular updates of the resolutions at this year's 52nd session at the Human Rights Council.